The 1980s gave us some of the best things ever. Stop arguing, cause it did. Transformers Generation 1, at least until the movie. After that, it just kinda went downhill.
Where are you going?
To my retreat!
The Walkman, that was a big thing back then. Big League Chew Gum. Oh, I used to love that. Actually, I still do. Trapper Keepers. Oh, everybody had those. Garbage Pail Kids. I had a ton of those. And those cool high knee socks with the color rings. Anybody remember? Oh, stop lying to yourself. You know you had some. In fact, you probably still do in your drawer. I know I do. Especially the ones with the different color rings. But nothing speaks of the 1980s better than big hair rock and heavy metal. This beauty that you see right here is the debut album of Dio, the rock band formed by former Black Sabbath members Ronnie James Dio and Vinnie Appice. It was released in 1983. Big hair rock and heavy metal was huge back then, and the popularity of it started spreading across the world in the 1980s. 6 years later, after the release of that album, a game based on this album in particular would be released for the Famicom and only on the Famicom in 1989. Now, I think this might be the only time an NES game was fully inspired and created based on a rock album. There have been other games based on bands, like Journey back in the arcades in '83, I think it was. Let's not speak of that ever again. And Space Raft, an indie game for the Nintendo Switch in 2020. And this is where Holy Diver, the game, comes in. It was developed and published by Irem themselves. While the game is inspired by the band's album and even uses the names of actual band members for the game's protagonist, this game was never really endorsed or licensed by Dio the band. Which is probably why it was never released outside of Japan, but why not just change the name of the characters and the game title? Heck, they should have just given it to Nintendo and let them rebrand it. You know, they're pretty good with stuff like that. The game is a shooter action platformer that looks like a mixture between Contra and Castlevania, and that's actually a good thing. The story here is that an emperor by the name of Ronnie IV, I wonder who that is, recognizes his kingdom being slowly taken over by an enemy called the Dark Empire. So he hands his two sons, Randy and Zakk, named so after Randy Rhoads and Zakk Wylde, to his servant Ozzy, I wonder who that is, to hide them from the Dark Empire in another dimension. The sons train to become magicians and after 17 years, vow to return and aid Ronnie. But Zakk goes missing and Ozzy passes away. So it's up to Randy to take up the quest all alone. He will need to collect 5 seals across various stages in order to stop the Dark Empire from taking over his dad's kingdom. Soon as you hit the start button, you're gonna immediately realize that the character bears a strong resemblance to Simon Belmont from Castlevania, except for the cool cape. However, he has no whip, and rather he shoots projectiles, and has access to magic instead of magic weapons. There are 6 stages in total, and every time you complete a stage, you will be awarded a new magic spell. And that magic spell will actually come in handy on the next stage. Pressing select allows your character to switch over to your magic spells, which are basically different projectiles and different powers. But they do deplete your magic counter right here. Pressing start will let you select which of the magic that you want to use. You can replenish the counter by collecting blue orbs or these little blue bottles, either dropped by enemies or collected from inside breakable blocks. Hearts replenish your health bar, and that health meter that you start off with is way too small, especially for the difficulty of this game. It's just brutal. You can also collect these little bottles here to replenish all your health, or this big one right here that'll add an extra slot to your health meter. This game has some platforming, and not a lot of it, but the very little that it does have, it's quite difficult. And the level layouts are not as interesting as a Contra or a Castlevania title, plus the levels are too short. You also have a few special items to collect on your quest that will add abilities to you, such as jumping higher and allowing you to destroy blocks. One of the issues with this game, on top of the difficulty, is the respawning of enemies. Oh, they respawn real fast. You thought Mega Man was bad?
Stop or I'll mega blast you.
You know what, 30 years later and that is still horrible to look at. And if you don't react in time fast enough, forget it. Before you know it, the game is over and you have to restart all over again. Well, not from the very beginning, but from the stage that you're on. However, you can use this to your advantage on certain points of the stage if you can position yourself properly. Also, there is no password system here. You gotta beat it in one sitting. Cool. That's how we did it back then. Bosses in the game are actually pretty cool, although a bit too easy when compared to other games of that genre back then. But the flip side of that is that the levels are incredibly difficult. In fact, this may be the hardest game I have ever played. I think by the time I have captured all the footage that I need for this video, I have used up maybe 500 save states.
Excellent!
No, not excellent. Not even close. If I was playing this game on an actual NES, I would have thrown that thing out the window. But I can't deny just how unique this game is among the pantheon of the NES library. It doesn't have intricate level designs of a Castlevania or a Contra like I stated before, not even close. It is brutally difficult to the point that it might be unplayable to some out there. And the weapon system is very trivial and the boss fights are way too easy, which kinda goes against the overall difficulty curve that the levels bring to the table. It's almost as if the developers were like, well, you know what, you got through that difficult, very difficult level, let's take it a little bit easier on you when it comes to the bosses. But it has one thing going for it. Holy Diver is a gem in that it does what no other game did back then. It combined a running shooter style game with a Castlevania vibe, and on top of that, named the game after a rock album that was released in '83 by some ex-members of Black Sabbath. How many times can you say something like that? But the band never licensed or backed the game in any way whatsoever. To be honest, that's a shame. Not only should they have licensed the game, but more companies should have jumped on the bandwagon and created games based off heavy metal rock albums back then. That would have been cool. Can you imagine an NES game based on Rain in Blood by Slayer, Screaming for Vengeance by Judas Priest, Appetite for Destruction by Guns N' Roses, Master of Puppets by Metallica, one of the all-time best albums ever, Keeper of the Seven Keys Part 1 and 2 by Helloween? I mean, I could go on, but you all get the picture. Oh wait, one more. Power Slave from Iron Maiden.
Iron Maiden? Excellent!
Yes, my friends, excellent indeed. This game would remain relatively unknown until many years later when the retro community brought it back into the gaming conversation and also got it re-released by Retrobit in 2018, which was released in a collector's edition box that looks simply amazing. I mean, look at it. You know what? I think I might get what... Yeah, well, you know, there goes that idea. Now I remember why I'm not into collecting. But if you're looking for a real challenge, try to beat this game using as little continues as possible. No save states. I dare you. Oh yeah, good luck with that. Oh, and play it while listening to Holy Diver the song. In the meantime, keep watching and keep gaming.
I don't know. This show sucks. I guess it does. But other people probably enjoy it. Nothing wrong with that. Oh, okay. I guess that's true. But it does kind of suck, butthead.
We can watch what you want, Beavis. Anything you want to do is fine.
I've always wanted to, go inside a video game and eat some coins and kick Luigi in the nads. Yeah, that would be cool.